Have you ever wondered what would happen if someone told you that the place where you seek God is the very thing keeping you from finding him? Imagine standing inside a medieval cathedral 800 years ago. Priests speak of heaven above, hell below, and salvation through the church. Then a respected Dominican scholar steps forward and calmly says something astonishing. The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. To some, these words sounded like the deepest truth ever spoken. To others, they sounded dangerously close to heresy. His name was Meister Eckhart. He was not a rebel trying to destroy Christianity. He was one of its most brilliant theologians, a university professor, a preacher, a Dominican friar trusted enough to teach future clergy. Yet before his life ended, he would be investigated for heresy, condemned after his death, and largely forgotten for centuries. Today, however, many scholars consider him one of the greatest Christian mystics who ever lived. His writings have inspired philosophers, poets, monks, and even modern seekers from completely different spiritual traditions. So who was the man the church feared? And why do his words sound astonishingly modern even today? Meister Eckhart was born around 1260 in Thuringia, in what is now Germany. Europe looked very different then. The medieval world revolved around the church. Nearly every aspect of life, from education to politics to morality, was shaped by Christianity. Knowledge belonged largely to monasteries and universities run by religious orders. Young Eckhart entered the Dominican order, an order famous for scholarship and preaching. The Dominicans valued reason as much as faith. They studied philosophy alongside scripture, believing that truth could never contradict God. Eckhart proved exceptionally gifted. He studied in Cologne, where the influence of the great theologian Albert the Great still lingered. Later he studied and taught in Paris, Europe's most prestigious university. Receiving the title Master from Paris was no small achievement. That is why history remembers him as Meister Eckhart. Few people of his generation possessed greater theological authority. Ironically, that same authority gave tremendous weight to the ideas that would later alarm church officials. Unlike many scholars who filled libraries with complex arguments, Eckhart wanted ordinary people to experience God directly. His sermons were often delivered in German rather than Latin. This alone was unusual. Most advanced theology remained locked inside universities. Eckhart brought profound mystical ideas into everyday language, but what he taught challenged people's deepest assumptions. Most believers imagine God as distant, a ruler somewhere beyond the heavens. Eckhart suggested something radically different. God was closer than breath, closer than thought, closer even than the self we call I. He taught that beneath our ordinary personality lies what he called the divine spark. This spark is not another object inside us, it is the deepest ground of the soul, where God continually gives birth to his word. According to Eckhart, the spiritual journey was not about becoming someone special, it was about removing everything false until only God remained. That sounded beautiful. It also sounded dangerous, because if God could be encountered directly in the soul, what role remained for external religious authority? Eckhart never rejected the church or its sacraments, but some listeners began hearing something more radical than he intended. One of Eckhart's central teachings was something he called Gelassenheit. The word has no perfect English translation. It means letting go, releasement, complete inner detachment. Most people spend their lives clinging to success, failure, possessions, reputation, even their ideas about God. Eckhart believed every attachment creates another barrier. He famously taught that people should let go not only of worldly desires, but even of selfish images of God. This did not mean abandoning faith, it meant abandoning the ego's attempt to possess God. For Eckhart, God could never become another object the mind controlled. God could only be received through emptiness. His listeners heard statements unlike anything they expected from a medieval preacher. The soul must become empty. Be free of self. The more you become nothing, the more God can work within you. Centuries later, readers would notice remarkable similarities between these ideas and teachings found in Buddhist traditions. There is no evidence Eckhart knew Buddhism. The similarities arose independently, yet both point toward a transformation that requires releasing attachment to the separate self. The deeper Eckhart explored this inner path, the more daring his language became. He sometimes declared that God is found beyond every image and concept. He even wrote that people should pray to be free of God. At first hearing that sounds shocking, but Eckhart was making a subtle distinction. He did not mean abandoning the true God. He meant letting go of false mental pictures we mistake for God. Every image, every definition, every expectation becomes another idol if we cling to it. The infinite cannot be captured by human thought. Only when the mind falls silent can the soul awaken to God's presence. For many mystics, this is familiar territory. For church authorities, however, such statements could easily confuse ordinary believers. Words that inspired contemplation in one listener could inspire dangerous misunderstanding in another. In 1326, Archbishop Henry of Wernberg initiated proceedings against Eckhart. A list of suspicious statements was gathered from his sermons and writings. Some critics accused him of teaching that humans could become identical with God. Others claimed he dismissed moral responsibility or church authority. Eckhart defended himself vigorously. He insisted that his teachings had been misunderstood and interpreted without proper context. He declared publicly that if anything he had taught contradicted the faith, he willingly retracted it. Before the investigation concluded, Eckhart likely died around 1328. The following year, Pope John XXIII issued the papal bull In Agro Dominico. 17 propositions attributed to Eckhart were condemned as heretical, 11 others were declared potentially dangerous. Importantly, the document also acknowledged that Eckhart had submitted himself to the judgment of the Church before his death. His personal faith was never officially condemned in the same way his disputed statements were. Still, the damage was done. His reputation faded, many of his writings disappeared into obscurity. Yet ideas have a remarkable way of surviving. Eckhart's students, especially Johannes Tauler and Henry Suso, carried forward much of his mystical vision. Later movements such as the Theologia Germanica preserved echoes of his spirituality. Centuries passed. Then philosophers began rediscovering him. German idealists admired his profound metaphysics. Writers found extraordinary beauty in his language. In the 20th century, theologians revisited his work with fresh eyes. Many concluded that his thought had often been misunderstood through isolated quotations. Today, Eckhart is widely studied not only by Christians but by scholars of comparative religion. His works have been translated into dozens of languages. His sermons continue to fill bookshelves around the world. Ironically, the voice once feared for being too dangerous has become one of Christianity's most celebrated mystical teachers. What makes Meister Eckhart feel so contemporary is that he speaks directly to a problem that has only grown larger. Modern life encourages constant accumulation, more possessions, more achievements, more opinions, more identities. Even spirituality can become another collection, another badge, another achievement. Eckhart turns the entire journey upside down. Instead of asking what you can gain, he asks, what can you let go of? Instead of climbing toward God, perhaps you awaken to the one who has never left. Instead of constructing a stronger self, perhaps freedom begins when the self loosens its grip. These questions continue to resonate because they touch something universal. Whether one approaches them through Christianity, philosophy, or simple contemplation, they invite an inward honesty that never grows old. Meister Eckhart never founded a movement, he never led armies, he never ruled kingdoms. He simply preached that beneath the noise of thought lies a depth where God is already present. For that message he became one of history's most controversial mystics, yet perhaps history has rendered its own verdict. The man once investigated as a dangerous thinker is now remembered as a visionary, whose words reached centuries beyond his own. His life reminds us that the most revolutionary ideas are not always loud. Sometimes they arrive as a whisper that asks us to stop searching everywhere else, and discover what has always been waiting in the silent depths of the soul.